Picture this. You've been texting your crush for a few weeks. Things seem to be going well. You're getting regular responses, maybe even some flirty messages. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, they start taking hours to reply. Their messages become shorter. The energy completely shifts. What happened? Here's the harsh reality. You probably made one of the 5 critical texting mistakes that I'm about to reveal to you today. And trust me, these mistakes are so common that almost everyone makes them without even realizing it. I've spent years studying communication patterns, and I've analyzed thousands of text conversations between people who were interested in each other. What I discovered will shock you. There are specific texting behaviors that can instantly kill attraction, no matter how much someone initially liked you. But here's the good news. Once you understand these mistakes, you can completely transform your texting game. You'll know exactly what to avoid, and more importantly, what to do instead to keep that spark alive and growing stronger. So if you've ever wondered why your crush suddenly went cold, or if you want to make sure you never experience that crushing feeling of being left on red, then this video is for you. Let's dive into the 5 texting mistakes that are sabotaging your chances with your crush. Mistake number 1, the desperate double, triple, or quadruple text. Let me tell you about Sarah. She met Jake at a coffee shop and they exchanged numbers. Their first few text exchanges were amazing. Jake was responsive, funny, and seemed genuinely interested. Then one day, Jake took a little longer to respond than usual. Sarah panicked. She sent a follow-up text asking if he got her message. 20 minutes later, she sent another one apologizing for being pushy. An hour after that, she sent a funny meme to lighten the mood. By the time Jake finally responded, he had received 4 messages from Sarah, and the dynamic had completely shifted. This is what I call the desperation cascade, and it's absolutely deadly to attraction. When you send multiple messages before getting a response, you're essentially telling the other person that you're anxious, insecure, and way too invested too early. Think about it from their perspective. They're probably busy with work, hanging out with friends, or just living their life. They see one message from you and think, I'll respond to this later when I have time to give a proper response. Then they come back to find 3 or 4 messages from you, and suddenly you seem needy and overwhelming. Here's what's happening psychologically. When someone doesn't respond immediately, your brain starts creating stories. Maybe they're ignoring you. Maybe they're not interested. Maybe they're talking to someone else. These thoughts create anxiety, and anxiety makes us act in ways that push people away. The solution is simple, but requires self-discipline. Send one message and wait. I don't care if it takes them 3 hours, 6 hours, or even a full day to respond. One message, that's it. If they don't respond within a reasonable time frame, like 24 to 48 hours, then you can send one gentle follow-up. But never ever send multiple messages in quick succession. Remember, people are attracted to those who have their own life, their own priorities, and their own sense of security. When you double text, you're advertising that you don't have these things. Mistake number 2, being too available and responding instantly. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, didn't you just say that not responding is bad? No, I said that sending multiple messages is bad. There's a huge difference. Here's the thing about instant responses. They kill mystery and make you seem like you have nothing else going on in your life. When you respond to every text within seconds of receiving it, you're inadvertently telling your crush that texting them is the most important thing in your world right now. Let me share a story about Marcus. He was texting this girl he really liked, and every time she sent a message, he would respond immediately. He thought he was being considerate and showing interest, but after a few weeks, she started taking longer to respond to him. Eventually, she stopped responding altogether. What Marcus didn't realize is that he had made himself too predictable and too available. There was no challenge, no mystery, no wondering about what he was up to. She knew that no matter when she texted him, he would respond right away. This doesn't mean you should play games or be deliberately mean. It means you should have a life outside of your phone. You should be busy with work, hobbies, friends, and personal goals. When you're genuinely busy, you naturally won't be able to respond instantly to every message. The sweet spot is responding within a reasonable time frame, usually within a few hours, but not immediately. This shows that you're interested, but not desperate. It demonstrates that you have a life, which is incredibly attractive. Here's a practical tip. When you receive a text from your crush, read it, but don't respond right away. Wait at least 15 to 30 minutes, even if you're not busy. This small delay creates a sense of anticipation and shows that you're not sitting by your phone waiting for their messages. Mistake number 3. Sending boring, low-effort messages. This might be the most common mistake of all, and it's killing your conversations before they even have a chance to develop. I'm talking about messages like, "Hey, what's up? How was your day? And why'd?" These messages are conversation killers because they put all the work on the other person. They have to come up with something interesting to say, and frankly, most people don't want to do that work, especially if they're talking to multiple people. Think about it. Your crush probably receives dozens of messages every day. If your message looks exactly like everyone else's, why would they prioritize responding to you? You're blending into the background noise of their notifications. Let me tell you about Lisa's experience. She was getting messages from several guys she had met through dating apps. Guy number 1 would text her, "Good morning, beautiful," every day. Guy number 2 would ask, "How was your day?" every evening. Guy number 3 would send, "Hey," and wait for her to carry the conversation. But then there was guy number 4. He would send her messages like, "I just saw a dog wearing a tuxedo, and it reminded me of that story you told me about your cousin's wedding," or, "You mentioned you love horror movies. What's your take on the new psychological thriller everyone's talking about?" Guess which one she was most excited to text back? The key to interesting messages is being specific and giving the other person something to work with. Instead of, "How was your day?" try, "I had the weirdest thing happen at work today. A client asked me to explain quantum physics to their cat. How's your day going compared to that?" Instead of, "What's up?" try, "I'm debating whether pineapple on pizza is a crime against humanity or a misunderstood masterpiece. What's your stance on this crucial issue?" These messages do several things. They show your personality, they give the other person multiple ways to respond, and they create a fun, engaging dynamic. They also demonstrate that you're putting effort into the conversation, which makes the other person want to match that energy. Mistake number 4, oversharing too early. This is where things get really uncomfortable, and I've seen this mistake ruin more potential relationships than almost anything else. Oversharing happens when you reveal too much personal information too quickly, especially negative or heavy information. I remember coaching a client named David who was texting someone he really liked. Things were going well until he decided to share his entire relationship history, including details about his ex-girlfriend, his trust issues, and his fears about commitment. This was only their second week of texting. The woman he was texting started responding less frequently and eventually stopped responding altogether. David couldn't understand why. He thought he was being open and honest, building trust and intimacy. Here's what David didn't understand. Intimacy is built gradually. It's like constructing a building. You don't start with the roof, you start with the foundation. When you share deeply personal information too early, you're essentially trying to put the roof on before you've built the walls. Oversharing can include talking about your mental health struggles, your financial problems, your family drama, your past relationships, your insecurities, or your long-term relationship goals. All of these topics have their place in a developing relationship, but not in the early texting phase. When you overshare early, you create several problems. First, you overwhelm the other person with information they're not ready to process. Second, you create an imbalance in the relationship where you're more invested than they are. Third, you can come across as using them as a therapist rather than getting to know them as a person. The early texting phase should be about discovering each other's personalities, interests, and sense of humor. It should be light, fun, and gradually building connection. Save the deeper conversations for when you've established a solid foundation of mutual interest and trust. A good rule of thumb is this: if you wouldn't share this information with a new coworker or casual friend, don't share it via text with someone you're just getting to know romantically. Mistake number 5: not knowing when to move beyond texting. This final mistake is perhaps the most heartbreaking because it happens to people who actually do everything else right. They have great conversations, they build attraction, they create connection, but then they get stuck in text message limbo forever. I worked with a woman named Jessica who had been texting her crush for 3 months. 3 months! They had amazing conversations, shared similar interests, and there was definitely mutual attraction. But every time the opportunity came up to meet in person, or even have a phone call, either she would get nervous and not suggest it, or he would mention hanging out sometime without making concrete plans. Eventually, the texting relationship fizzled out because it had nowhere to go. They had exhausted all the getting-to-know-you conversation topics, and without progressing to real-life interaction, the connection couldn't deepen. Here's the truth. Texting is a tool for building initial connection and maintaining contact between real interactions. It's not meant to be the primary way you get to know someone. If you want to build a real relationship, you need to move beyond the screen. The sweet spot for making this transition is usually after you've had several good text conversations and established mutual interest. This typically happens within the first week or 2 of texting. At this point, you should suggest meeting in person, or at least having a phone call. You can do this naturally by saying something like, "I'm really enjoying our conversations. Would you like to continue this over coffee sometime?" Or, "You seem really interesting. I'd love to hear your voice. Are you free for a quick call tonight?" If they're interested in you, they'll say yes. If they're not interested or not ready, they'll politely decline. Either way, you'll know where you stand instead of wasting weeks or months in text message purgatory. The psychology behind these mistakes. Now that we've covered the 5 mistakes, let me explain why they're so damaging from a psychological perspective. Understanding this will help you avoid these pitfalls in the future. All of these mistakes stem from the same root problem. They signal low value and high neediness. In the early stages of attraction, people are subconsciously evaluating whether you're someone they want to invest their time and emotional energy in. When you make these mistakes, you're essentially telling them that you're not busy, not in demand, and not confident in your own worth. You're signaling that getting their attention is more important to you than it should be at this stage of knowing each other. Attraction is largely about perceived value and scarcity. People are drawn to those who seem to have options, who are busy with their own lives, and who are secure in themselves. When you're desperate, always available, boring, oversharing, or afraid to make moves, you're working against these natural attraction triggers. This doesn't mean you should be mean, manipulative, or play games. It means you should genuinely have a life you're excited about, interests you're passionate about, and confidence in your own worth. When you have these things, you naturally avoid the mistakes I've outlined because you're not coming from a place of neediness or desperation. What to do instead? So now that you know what not to do, let me give you a roadmap for what you should do instead. First, develop genuine confidence and self-worth outside of your romantic prospects. This means having hobbies, goals, friendships, and interests that make you excited to wake up every morning. When you're genuinely busy and fulfilled, you won't have time to make these mistakes. Second, treat texting as a way to build light, fun connection and arrange real-life meetings. Don't try to build a deep relationship through text messages. Use them to show your personality, create anticipation, and set up opportunities to connect in person. Third, be patient with the process. Good relationships take time to develop. Don't try to rush intimacy or force a connection. Let things unfold naturally while you focus on being the best version of yourself. Fourth, remember that not everyone you're interested in will be interested in you, and that's okay. This isn't about manipulating people into liking you. It's about presenting yourself in the most attractive way possible, so that when you do meet someone who's genuinely compatible with you, you don't sabotage the connection with these common mistakes. Your next steps. If you've made any of these mistakes in the past, don't worry. We've all been there. The important thing is learning from these experiences and doing better going forward. Take a moment to think about your recent text conversations. Are you guilty of any of these mistakes? Be honest with yourself. Awareness is the first step to improvement. If you're currently texting someone you're interested in, evaluate your approach. Are you being too available? Are your messages boring? Are you oversharing? Are you stuck in text message limbo? Identify which mistake you're most prone to making and focus on correcting it. Remember, the goal isn't to play games or be someone you're not. The goal is to be the most attractive version of yourself. These guidelines will help you present yourself in a way that builds attraction rather than kills it. Your crush losing interest doesn't mean you're not worthy of love or that you'll never find someone who appreciates you. It often just means that you need to refine your approach and avoid these common pitfalls. The person who's right for you will appreciate your genuine interest, your engaging personality, and your confidence, but they'll only get to see these qualities if you don't sabotage yourself with these 5 deadly texting mistakes. So go forth and text with confidence. Show your personality, maintain your own life, and remember that the right person will be excited to hear from you and spend time with you. You've got this, and your future self will thank you for learning these lessons now, rather than making these mistakes over and over again. If this video helped you understand where you might be going wrong in your texting game, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more dating and relationship advice. And if you have your own texting horror stories or success stories, share them in the comments below. I love hearing from you, and your experiences might help someone else avoid these same mistakes. Until next time, keep being awesome, and remember, you're worthy of someone who's genuinely excited to text you back.